I think there's a tendency amongst seasoned photographers to disregard phone cameras, opting instead to always venture outdoors with their full camera setup, as I am today. But the cameras on our phones can be extremely useful tools, mainly because we always have them in our pockets. But to be perfectly honest with you guys, the only reason that I'm bringing my full kit out today is just for the purpose of making this video. So let's talk about why our phone cameras can be such valuable tools for us landscape photographers.
Well, hello everyone, thanks for joining me today for another video. I hope you're all having a great week. I'm in the Clwydian range today. It's an area that's very close to home for me. It's an area of outstanding natural beauty here in Wales, but it's not really somewhere that gets an awful lot of exposure in terms of landscape photography, especially here on YouTube, but it's somewhere that's very near and dear to me. This channel is going to be very North Wales focused for the most part because it is just a part of the country that I think is just endlessly beautiful. And I want to showcase that and bring you guys along as much as possible. But because I'm always out and about in these regions, I'm often going on walks, exploring. Me and my girlfriend Alex, we love being in the outdoors, but I'm not always bringing this massive camera bag with me. But being the landscape photographer that I am, even when I'm out on walks, I still have that thing in the back of my mind that is kind of always looking out, scouring the landscape, looking for photographic potential. And that's where my phone comes into play. So I thought what we could do today is just have a bit of an explore, and I'll talk you through the process that I go through from finding compositions, how I'm referencing compositions with my phone, and then how I can use that information and those reference images to kind of bank that location, that composition for the future, because let's face it, we don't always get great conditions. Today is a prime example of that. Yes, it's the only day this week when it's not raining, but even so, I'm not necessarily going to get an awful lot of great photos in conditions like this, but I might find something that in a future season, on a different day with different weather, might actually prove to be quite photogenic. So come along with me and I will talk you through this whole process, and hopefully that will make your experience in the landscape as a photographer a lot more rewarding. Now I absolutely love this area. It's just the rolling hills, the endless fields, and yes, I'm having to share this particular one with a load of sheep, but I am on a public footpath, so I'm sure they're not too bothered about me being here. But this kind of first composition that I found is a prime example of where something like my phone is going to come in handy, because I feel like anywhere where you have a dry stone wall, you have potential for great photos. Not only are they great features within the landscape with loads of great texture, loads of great interest, but they also sometimes tell a great story about the actual countryside and about that location because of farming and that sort of thing. It's something that I always look for. It's something that I'm always drawn to in landscape imagery, but it also provides a great leading line. And if that line leads towards something interesting, then you have the makings of a good photo. But today, obviously, we're not getting conditions that are making a scene like this optimal, but that's where my phone comes in handy, because I'm going to bank this composition for later.
I actually found this composition a couple of weeks ago. Alex and I were on a walk one evening and the light was really nice, but I didn't have a camera with me. But I did have my phone in my pocket and I knew there was potential here. And I decided to take a quick reference photo just so I don't forget it and I can use it as a bit of a reference for doing some more research. And this is where pre-visualization comes into play.
It's something that I've talked about before on this channel, is just being able to kind of foresee the image that you want to eventually create and kind of understanding the conditions that might make that possible. So this wall, as lovely as it is, as rugged as it is, it's the trees behind it that you can just see at the end of the wall that I think are what's going to make this, coupled with some interesting light. So those trees obviously don't look like much now because there's no foliage on them. There's absolutely nothing to make them a strong focal point. However, in the summer, for example, if they are in blossom, if they have leaves on them, if there's some light hitting those leaves, you start to get the picture. You're going to start creating a composition then that has quite a few strong elements. Now, something else that's going to play a major role in this final image is the light. Light is so important, and when you're thinking about light, you have to think about the direction of light. Coming out and shooting a sunset is great. You can do that any day of the week, providing that you don't have too much cloud cover. But where the sun sets and the direction of light, depending on the season, plays a big role. Now, there's a couple of apps, pieces of software that I use to help me plan this, and I'm going to share those with you because that's what I did when I visited this location a couple of weeks ago. I always like to sort of think ahead as much as possible. So there's a website which is absolutely free, I'll link it down below, where you can use Google Maps or just any map to sort of find your focal point. So I kind of know where this composition is or where this location is, so I found that on the map. And then you can use the calendar within the app to sort of see where the sun is going to rise and set on any given day of the week. Now, we have zero visibility today, but right behind that little grouping of trees that the wall leads down to is an expansive view over the Clwydian Range, over towards Môr Famau, which is probably the most distinguished peak in this area. Now, I know, and the software that I use has kind of told me that in the summer, so I guess like June, July, August time, the sun is going to set pretty much right over the mountain, which means if I come back to this location in the summer, I'm going to get that shot that I can pre-visualize with the nice wall leading to the nice trees with a nice vista in the background of the mountains with the setting sun. Just everything that a landscape photographer could want. But I'm not going to remember all of that, so I need to start thinking about reference photos. So all I'm wanting to do here is just use my phone, and I'll try and record it on my phone so you can see. So if you were here and you didn't have your camera, but you were thinking all of these things that I've just been explaining, this is kind of the best way to do it. I always find that when I'm trying to think of compositions, if I'm just using my eye, because of how like peripheral vision works, sometimes even if we're focusing on a subject, we're getting a lot of kind of extraneous data, I suppose, that our eye is inadvertently taking in, and that makes it hard to think about framing and composition. Whereas using your phone, because you have the confines of the aspect ratio on the phone, and because you can get like a wide angle view, which is quite nice for something like this, it just gives you that opportunity to be able to pre-visualize the final result a bit better. So all I was doing was just using the wide angle view on my phone. Let me just hit video. Just by recording this, you can get an idea of the final shot. Now, I don't mind having the sheep in this particular photo. I think it definitely helps add a bit more interest, but you can see that the wall creates a really nice leading line all the way down to the trees at the bottom with the countryside in the background. And then if you just take that photo, you've then got that reference and you can use that for, you know, just your general scouting. So that's something that I encourage you all to do. But whilst we've got the camera, we might as well just take a photo, right? And let me talk you through the kind of specifics of the composition and how to technically create the shot. So let me just show you the back of the screen here so I can talk you through the technical aspect. So I'm using f8 because I just want the optimal sharpness for this lens, because I don't want front to back sharpness in a single exposure, because I think with this, taking 2 exposures is probably going to do better for us in the final result, because all of the sort of, I guess, foreground here, these sort of rocks, they're only about half a meter away from the lens. So to get that sharp and to get the background sharp, I'm definitely going to need to focus on those initial foreground rocks, but that's going to make the background softer. So I'll take 1 exposure to grab the wall, I'll take another exposure to grab the trees, blend those together, and that should then give us a good sort of final result. So I'll take the shot now, I'll pop it up on screen, and we'll revisit this in the summer and hopefully get the results that we want. So I think if we couple the reference photo I took a couple of weeks ago with the nice light, with the photo that I've now taken on the A7 III, which gives me a good idea of kind of what the final image will look like in terms of kind of sharpness and resolution and image quality, then I have the kind of makings of something that I'm confident I can come back to and get a decent shot later in the year. So if I take all of these things into consideration with direction of light, seasonality, then it just means that I'm giving myself good opportunities to be able to get good photos, especially if, like me, you are interested in exploring your local area and photographing your local area, because I absolutely love it here. North Wales is such a special place for me. I've lived here my whole life, I've grown up here, and I want to shine a light on it as much as possible because I think it's so photographic, I think it's steeped in so much history that I just want to document it as best as I can. And it's not always about the honeypot locations, it's about these little pockets like where we are today of seemingly uninteresting or not necessarily the locations that are worth visiting, but still have a lot of beauty if you just take the time to explore them. And that'll be the same for where you live, I'm sure. And because if you're exploring places that are local to you, you can revisit. You don't always have to have your camera bag, you can just go out for a walk, take your phone, and you can repeat this process. So I'm hopeful that today's video will at least give you a few things to think about, and hopefully just adopting a few of these steps is going to ensure that you get some nice photos all year round. You might have to be a little bit patient to kind of get the prime and optimal conditions, but man, when you live somewhere as beautiful as this, it's just so important to get out and enjoy it. And if you've got to wait a couple of months to get the photo, well, I don't think that's such a bad thing. Just enjoy where you are, enjoy the landscape. It's a good excuse to come back and revisit, right? So I'll leave it there for today. Like I said, I know this video and this photo that I'm sharing today isn't the end result, but hopefully you'll consider subscribing and hitting the like button, and then you can come along later in the summer where we'll eventually come back and try and bag this image. And who knows, after all that, it might not even be that amazing, but I think it has potential. So thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Get out into your local area, go for a walk, take your phone, see what you find. Maybe that's something to do at the weekend. Anyway, I'll leave you to it. Thanks folks, catch you all soon.